Folks out here on LinkedIn talking about AI, you've got to be really careful. But yes, you're absolutely right. You've got to adopt it, integrate it, adapt to it, and realize that it's not necessarily going to replace people. It should augment what you're already doing. And I see it as, I get so excited about it because it frees me up to be creative. So my brother-in-law said to me the other day that she said, "You're turning into a zombie." This guy is a lovely guy. He's nearly 80 this year. Oh, he said, "You're not going to think for yourself anymore because the AI is just going to do all its thinking for you." And I said, that's completely the opposite. I said, the way I see it is that I am freed up to be creative. I'm a little disturbed at the anti-AI sentiment because this is coming and I don't think anybody can do anything about it.
My name is Rodman Schley. As a real estate expert, I've invested millions of dollars in vacation properties all around the world, and I've been involved in the valuation of billions of dollars of properties. I want to share my 35 years of experience along with vacation home investment tips from the top minds in the short-term vacation rental industry. Now, let's do the work. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Rodman Schley, and today I am thrilled to be joined by a true pioneer in vacation rental education, Heather Bair. Heather is the creative force behind the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, boasting over 600 episodes and 1.4 million downloads. And once again, she is leading the future in the STR space by pivoting to AI consultancy and training. She's helping other STR professionals harness AI not just as a tech tool, but as a business mindset by teaching how you can scale your STR brand, create 24/7 digital assistants, and how to future-proof your business. Hey, Heather, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's an absolute delight to be here.
Now, it's awesome to have you here because I know that we're going to talk a lot about some very, very important things today because we live in this society where everything in life is evolving. So many different things are happening with technology on all fronts, all industries. And the short-term vacation rental market is not immune to that. AI is changing the way that we're doing everything. And so today, I'm excited to talk a little bit about what you're seeing in AI and some of the things that we can do to integrate that into our businesses.
Yeah, I've been down this AI rabbit hole for some time now, and I'm sort of living, eating and breathing it now. It's a bit scary because I wake up in the morning thinking about it, and it's the last thing I think about before I go to bed at night. My family think I've gone nuts, but I'm enjoying every AI minute of it at the moment.
Yeah. So did you resist it at first? I know that my family, when we talk about AI, we've got this flower garden in Colorado, and my wife is always in nature. She's outdoors. And I keep talking about AI, and my wife's like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't know if you were an early adopter or if you kind of pushed it away for a while.
I've been an early adopter since as far back as I can remember, when we first got PCs, because I can remember that, I wanted to be first there, first in with the PCs. When podcasting came out, it was 2007 when I bought my first podcasting equipment. Didn't start recording till 2014 because it took me 7 years to learn how to use the equipment. but yeah, I've always been a really early adopter. Love new stuff. But now I'm having to scale back. You can't adopt everything that's coming out now.
It's tough.
Do you know there's a website called There's an AI for that? Have you come across that?
No.
Go on to There's an AI for that, and they'll send you a daily update. And it currently, 2 days ago, it had 36,734 AI apps on it.
Oh my gosh.
This morning, there's 36,948. And that's in 3 days. So I wrote a post on LinkedIn the other day about this, about being an early adopter and how you've got to scale it back. I've got to scale myself back because I'm scrolling mindlessly through all these new apps and thinking, got to stop this and be more intentional and focused. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm an early adopter who has to rein it in all the time.
Yeah. So Heather, tell us a little bit about your background. I know that you've been in the business for a long time. As have I, but I'd like to give the listeners a little bit of information on how you got to where you got to.
Oh, briefly, because it goes back around 45 years, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
So I started it. Well, I'm a Brit. I'm a Brit, currently living in Canada. Been in Canada for 23 years now. But I've been in hospitality since I was in my early 20s. You know, first of all, running the catering business of a pub in the UK. And then we went on and bought a small hotel, and we created a nice little business out of that. And then I went into, I became a tour operator in the UK, marketed, because I do start a lot of businesses. I think I've had 15 so far. So we were at one point, we were marketing Ontario cottage rentals to the British market, because I'd gone out to Canada in 1998 from England, and it was going to my brother's wedding, and he booked us into this cottage, and it turned out to be a water access only cottage. So when we arrived at the appointed place, and there was a boat there to take us to this little house, which had a leaking roof and a full septic system and a little sort of dunny, you know, the outhouse sitting on a rock. And 12 of us in this place had a fabulous week. We spent it mostly outside because you couldn't stay inside because of the mouse poop. And I was sitting out on a rock with my sister last evening of this vacation, and we were drinking a gin and tonic, and I said, do you know, we could do this? And she said, oh yeah, I hear another business coming. So I went back to England, and I looked at the Ontario housing market, and this was 1998. It was when the dollar was $2.45 to the pound. You could get a lot for the pounds that we had. In fact, so we bought a 5-bedroom cottage for the price of what was being charged for a garage in London at the time. Nice little waterfront place, and I started to rent that out, and then other people asked me if I would help them with theirs as well. And long story short, we emigrated from the UK to Canada in 2003, started a property management company, which I sold in 2022 after 20 years. And now I spend all my time creating training and education material for short-term rental operators, mostly small property managers, and hosts that are really looking to grow their businesses. Because I also have a background as a management consultant and ran a training company for a while as well.
Now, you are a serial entrepreneur. I absolutely love that. And I also love how you say Canada. I think you put an R in there, which I love that.
Canada. No, maybe. Like water.
So you've had quite the journey. By the way, when you got your cottage business going, did you go change a lot of things from that first experience? Did you make sure that you didn't have the mouse poop on the floors and the outhouse, or did you like that? Or was that something you said, hey, this is a unique experience? Maybe not the mouse poop, but everything else.
It was interesting. I came with all these big ideas. I was going to start this property management company. I was going to be different from everybody else. There were a half a dozen very established cottage rental companies in the area, and I thought, well, I'll talk to them first and see how they do it. And nobody would talk to me. They just did not want to know. I was a new kid on the block. I mean, it's fair enough. I was a new kid on the block. At that time, nobody was sharing like they do now. And you didn't have Facebook and LinkedIn and all these wonderful platforms where you could go and share your experiences. It was really, everyone was out for themselves. So I wanted to make a change. And the first change I wanted to make was that in this cottage rental industry, cleaning was always done by the guests. So you had to leave a place as found, and that was standard. And actually, it still is in some areas, that the guests are asked to leave the place as found because there is no cleaning supplied. So that was my first thing. I was going to bring this change into the industry so that guests who came would not have to clean toilets before they left. Now, that took probably about 8 years before I was able to make this real change, because I was dealing with owners who had been used to this status quo of as found for so many years. And we had to teach them that this wasn't quite what hospitality was about. And we went on from there to change the bring your own linens. So the only properties we would take on is if they supplied linens. And then over time, we had to make sure the linens were white. So there was a lot that happened in that 20 years. But yes, I came into it with a view that nobody would experience what I had done when we opened the door to that cottage and spent the first 2 days cleaning mouse poop out of everywhere.
Well, and you bring up some really good points. So we bought our first property in 2001. We bought it up in Keystone, Colorado. We had this ski cabin. We absolutely loved it. But things have evolved significantly since then. The way that you get in new people, the way that you, like you said, even keep a unit. You don't have somebody else clean it. You bring somebody in to clean it. Those types of things. And one of the big things that we want to talk about today is AI, because AI is a real big game changer, not just for us. I mean, every single industry out there is experiencing these changes with AI. And you've got choices right now where you either need to evolve with it, understand it, evolve with it, grow with it, understand how to utilize it, how to optimize it, how to make money with it, or you're going to get left behind.
Mm. And that's the big issue. I don't know how much time you spend on LinkedIn, but just recently there's this slew of posts about how awful it is. There's a real anti-AI thing going on. And whether it's to do with M dashes or just the way that ChatGPT generates text, I don't know, but there's a movement growing of anti-AI people, and it reminded me, of my 10th grade history and the Luddites. Do you recall the Luddites?
I do not recall the Luddites.
It was back in the UK in the 18th century, and it was when the loom was invented, and people were just very anti-technology. It was going to take away their livelihoods. It was going to ruin their lives. And there was a lot of violence and rioting and demonstrations against this advancement of technology. Now, I did a post on LinkedIn the other day about this, and I did some research. So I thought, I remember the Luddites, and I need to go back and look at this. And then I found that the majority of the Luddites were actually executed for their views. I thought, okay, you folks out here on LinkedIn talking about AI, you've got to be really careful. But yes, you're absolutely right. You've got to adopt it, integrate it, adapt to it, and realize that it's not necessarily going to replace people. It should augment what you're already doing. And I see it as, I get so excited about it because it frees me up to be creative. So my brother-in-law said to me the other day that she said, you're turning into a zombie. This guy is a lovely guy. He's nearly 80 this year. And he said, you're not going to think for yourself anymore because the AI is just going to do all its thinking for you. And I said, that's completely the opposite. I said, the way I see it is that I am freed up to be creative. I'm freed up to, and maybe that's an entrepreneurial thing because I keep thinking of new businesses because I've got so much time to do it in. But yeah, I'm a little disturbed at the anti-AI sentiment because this is coming and I don't think anybody can do anything about it.
And not only is it coming, it's here. I mean, we're dealing with it right now. And for me, I've always kind of thought of AI, when you think about AI, the first thing people generally think of is like ChatGPT and that, but it goes so much deeper than even that, way deeper. But I've always thought of it as being kind of my assistant, right? It's not replacing my thought. It's not replacing my writing. It's not replacing how I'm doing things, what I'm doing. It's just making me a little better at them. It's helping me understand philosophies or principles a lot deeper. If I'm stuck on something, it helps me get unstuck much quicker because I can just ask the question and they get moved on. But what we're talking about when it comes to vacation properties, we got to get outside of just thinking about ChatGPT, right? There's so many different things that we can be doing as business owners when we own our vacation properties outside of ChatGPT. So I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the tools and some of the resources, some of the things that you're utilizing to go ahead and use AI to your advantage.
Well, to be frank, I use ChatGPT probably 80% of the time because it is evolving so much that it's gone from simply being a replacement for Google to being a really thorough workhorse. So I'm definitely using that a lot. I'm using GPTs, which are programs that you can set up within ChatGPT to do tasks for you. So as an assistant, I think it can do just about anything. I use other platforms. I use Claude, which is from Anthropic, which is really good at content creation. If you want to gussy up social media posts or create really good blog posts, build the content for a website, then Claude is the one that I will go to. I actually use Perplexity that's my Google now, because the beauty of Perplexity, and it actually has many more features that I'm not using at the moment, and I've yet to explore them. But if I'm asking just a general question, the sort that I would normally ask Google, maybe how many property managers are in my area? How many property managers are in the area of Muskoka in Ontario, which is where I am? And that's something I might have asked before of Google, and it would have come up with the list of sponsored ads first, and then the list of all the property managers, and I would go through and count them. But with Perplexity, I can now ask the same question, and it will amalgamate the responses from maybe 10 different property management companies, and it will give me a synopsis of them all and really give just a lot more information. And then I will then go on perhaps and look at each one and then ask questions about each one. So Perplexity is quite a nice little workhorse for doing some light research. Because the other thing is I'm sure most people have heard about deep research. I believe Gemini from Google is really great at deep research now. You ask that a question, and it might bring up 150 websites that it's researching. So I also use Notebook LM. Have you come across that? Are you using that, Robert?
I'm not using that one now. And by the way, there's so many different resources out there right now.
Yep.
I sit here and hear you talk. I hear all my partners talk, and there's just so many different places to go. I think that's one of the bigger problems is we don't know where to go a lot of the time to get what we want. And so this is great. Yeah, keep talking.
Well, I think when you say, let's go outside of ChatGPT, but I think for most people, it's there. ChatGPT just about has it all, and it really is, feature after feature being added to it. The latest features are in the projects area. So you can develop an entire project, keep all your chats in there, build your GPTs out of it, and it will do just about anything. I'll give you an example. Going back to my brother-in-law again, he's helping out his daughter, who is collecting petition signatures, and so she's getting these lists of names and contact information and a signature. So she has given him the task to compile these details into a spreadsheet. So he's sitting there, and he said to me today, so I've got to go back and I've got to get all these signatures in. And I said, well, isn't AI doing it for you? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, he said, how can AI do that? And I said, well, you scan the pages of all your signatures. You use an OCR recognition that's going to pull out the text. You have that. And Google Drive can do that. You can create the text in Google Drive, and then you can put that in a spreadsheet. And I said, we can create a little program that will just do that at the push of a button. And he doesn't think I'm as much of a zombie anymore. But let me mention. Now you see, I'm getting, my speech gets faster the moment I start talking about this because I get so excited. So slow down a little. I'm publishing a podcast episode shortly about Notebook LM, because I asked Notebook LM a question, which was, can you tell me how can you tell me a little bit about how small businesses are adopting and adapting to AI? And Notebook LM gave me 10 sources of information. And this, ranged from a McKinsey report to a blog post. There was just a lot of different information. And then in Google LM, you can go over and make a podcast out of that information.
Oh my gosh.
So you click on a button and takes a couple of minutes. And then I got a 27-minute podcast with two people speaking, talking to each other about all this information. So Notebook LM is great if you've got a stack of information to process. And let's say you get all this information, it will give you a briefing document, it will give you a summary, but you can also create a podcast out of it. And then you can go for a walk and just listen to it.
Wait a minute. So Heather, so it creates a podcast for you, so you can just stick in your earbuds and you can go out and you can take the information in via a podcast that gets developed out of this application.
Exactly. And that's not all, because while you're listening to it, you can stop them and ask questions.
Oh, wow. That is
so
crazy.
You can say, hold on a minute. And the voice will say, oh, Heather's got a question. What's the question, Heather? And I will ask my question. And then between them, these two voices, they then draw on this information and they will answer my question.
Well, maybe you and I are going to be obsolete. I don't know. We're going to get replaced by smarter people, or smarter non-people, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't see them as smarter people. I selected the question,
yes,
which would pull in the information. So it all came from me. That's the way I think of it. Anyway, it's only if they go off and do something that I haven't actually asked them to do that I'm going to start getting worried.
Always going to be as people pulling the levers, right? We're always going to be there, feeding it, asking it, directing it, doing everything that we need to do within it. And I always tell people that because they're afraid, well, it's going to replace me. It's going to replace me. I say, I'm not going to replace you. Just be really good at what you do, so you can be one of the people who's pulling the levers on the technology, who's moving the information, who's moving the whatever it might be. I'm kind of blown away by the podcast thing. I'm going to have to go check that one out, because it's interesting to me that I could actually create my own. I do this 4 to 5 mile walk a day, and I love to put in a podcast. I would love it if I could direct it to teach me what I needed to hear on that 1 hour walk. So when I came back to my desk, I'm locked and loaded and I'm moving forward.
Yeah, well, if you think that I think you can pull in up to 50 sources of information.
Oh my gosh.
So you give it the topic, you tell it, what you're looking for out of it. It will go collect those 50 sources, or you can upload your own information. You can upload your own PDFs or other documents. And yeah, I find this fascinating. I've been using this for about 4 or 5 months, I guess, and just blown away every time. I do get a bit bored with the two voices though, and they haven't changed them. So
you get some new hosts. Is that what
I would like some new hosts. Yes, I'm going to complain to Notebook LM and ask them to change the hosts.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Vacation Property Seekers podcast. I want to let you know about one question that I get all the time. And that's, how do I forecast my cash flow and my profitability when investing in a vacation home? Now, if you've ever wondered that, or you know somebody who has, you're in the right place. We've created a free training called Financial Forecasting for Maximum Vacation Home Profitability. Now, in this training, we're going to guide you step by step on how to accurately project rental income, estimate your operating expenses, and calculate your returns so you can make informed investment decisions. You can access the free training at vacationpropertyexpertnetwork.com. So if you're ready to dive deeper into financial fundamentals and maximize your profitability, visit vacationpropertyexpertnetwork.com. It's really interesting too. I mean, it's all about, when you talk about AI and some of the value to it, it's all about the prompting, especially when you're in, like, say, ChatGPT. Your prompts are so darn important to what you're going to get back from ChatGPT. As a matter of fact, you can even tell ChatGPT how to prompt you. So I'll go in, like right now, I'm doing an entire audit of my website and for our property down in Costa Rica. And so I want to figure out what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what's missing, what's hurting us maybe in the SEO rankings. So I literally, instead of just saying, hey, go out here and look at my website and tell me what's wrong, I'll go into ChatGPT, say, listen, I've got this type of website. I would like to do a full audit on the website. And I'll even ask, I'll say, what's that audit called? So it can go, oh, that audit's called, this and that. And then I can actually ask it, I'll say, give me the prompt that I need to ask you to do a full, complete audit on this website and give me actionable steps so I can go in and make fixes. And like that, matter of fact, the last one I did, it ranked, it gave me like 10 different scores out of 10. Like some of them were 6.5 out of 10, or, say if you fix this. And then once I did all the fixes, I said, okay, now go do that audit again to see. And then it gave me the scores. It said, well, here's where you were and here's where you're at now. And then I said, well, how can I make this better? And then it gives me a full set of, it's just amazing that you can take this thing, prompt it correctly, and get so much incredible feedback.
Yeah. I mean, years ago, that expression garbage in, garbage out came along, and I don't know where it came from and what it was really related to at the start, but that's really defines how we prompt AI now. If you put garbage in, you'll get garbage out, and you cannot complain about the output from any of these models if you haven't spent time on the input. And it wasn't that long ago that I found that particular strategy, that you don't have to sit there and come up with a 4-page prompt. You actually tell it or ask it to create the prompt that you are then going to use to collect your output. And I find that is the most fun part, is creating the prompt that you're going to use to get the output that you actually want. And it's simple. You want to make sure it has a role, that you're giving the model a role. You are the most skilled content creator that has ever been seen. I mean, you can really go to town. You're the best. Make sure it has the context, why you're doing this. Make sure it has the objectives, what you want to get out of it. And you start with that. Create me a prompt with the role, the context, the goals, the objectives, whatever, and then see what it outputs. And really read it through. Read through the prompt before you use it. Because if you get poor output, it's because that prompt is poor in the first place.
Well, then once you get a good prompt, once you get a good prompt, capture it, keep it, file it away so you can come back to it over and over again, especially if it's something that's a repetitive action, whether it's an email that you send out or whatever it might be. Keep those prompts.
Well, that's where GPTs come in. So it's, in ChatGPT, it's a GPT. In Gemini, it's a gem. In Claude, I can't remember what it's using Claude, but everyone has these little programs. They're the assistants. So for anyone who, and if you've heard about agents, and maybe we'll go on to talk about agents, I just want a little analogy on how to tell the difference between an assistant and an agent. Do you play golf, Rodman?
Not well.
All right.
But I do.
So imagine that you are playing golf and Scotty Scheffler is your caddy.
Oh my gosh, that's how embarrassing.
So you know what you want, where you want to get to. You want to win this golf game, and he is reading the course. He is calculating the lengths. He is doing all the work in the background. He's giving you all that information, and then you're able to go on and play a much better game. That's an AI assistant. Now imagine if you want to win this game and you give your clubs to Scotty Scheffler and you say, off you go, play for me. That's an agent.
Ah, interesting. By the way, even if he were my caddy telling me exactly what to do, we would still be looking for my ball in the woods. But that's okay.
Yeah, I know that.
That's okay. I still would love to have him there telling me how bad I am.
But yeah, so GPTs are, just think of them as assistants, and you take that massive prompt that you have, put it into the GPT. You can easily go in there. You just go in and where it says configure, you give it the description or what you want it to do, feed it that prompt. That prompt stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's always there. This is so great for repetitive tasks. And then you give it knowledge. And that's the other key, is to give your large language model, your Claude, your ChatGPT, whatever you're using, you give it knowledge, because it doesn't inherently know you. It doesn't inherently know how you sound. So you give it, let's say you're creating a GPT to create some content for you. You give it your brand voice. You upload maybe podcasts that you've done before, so it actually hears your voice and it sees how you write. You upload blog posts. You upload things that show what your brand voice and brand tone are. So when that GPT is activated, it's going to give a result that is in your voice.
Yeah, and I do a lot of that. Like I'm blown away. I've used it for long enough now where I'm blown away of how much it actually does know me and knows my businesses and knows. I mean, I can ask it a simple question and it'll relate back to my businesses, or say, hey, just like you're doing over here in Vacation Property Secrets, you need to take this and do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Or I'll say, I'm looking for a good lead magnet, to attract people into what I'm doing. Say, oh, great. Well, why don't you give away your a digital copy of your free book? Or, I mean, it's incredible for me to know that I've got somebody who probably knows me a little better than my wife at this point.
I find that amazing. I did a little exercise the other day. I was out. Like you, I go for immensely long walks, couple of hours, and somebody had suggested that to get it to really know you, you give it your entire life story. So I thought that sounds fun. So I was using advanced voice with ChatGPT, and so I was just recording as I went along, with the voice coming back and encouraging me. So, and I started from, I was born in Hampshire, England in 1955. And I went on to talk about my childhood, and then going to school and not going to college because I just wanted to start businesses. So I get all the way to the end, and it comes up with that, and she's encouraging me all the way. That shows your entrepreneurship and shows how courageous you are when I've done something that might have been a bit brave. So all the way through, it's feeding into what I'm saying emotionally as well. And at the end, I have this autobiography, which I can use to create a long bio, a short bio, just whatever I want with it. And it remembers. Now that ChatGPT has memory, anything I write now will occasionally come up with something that I think, how did you know that? And then I realize that has come from my my reading or reading out aloud this autobiography.
Well, you can do the same thing. You let ChatGPT get to know you, but you can get ChatGPT to get to know your properties too. Like, you can direct it to your website, say, hey, these are my properties. I want you to go and learn about them. I want you to understand them. And, it'll do the exact same thing that it's doing with you, but doing it with your property. So then when you're going into marketing, when you're doing any copywriting, maybe you're doing some social media, it already has a good idea. It already knows your property. It knows the fundamentals behind it. It knows what it is, what it has to offer. And it can really help you to write those different, those posts or those marketing pieces or whatever it might be.
Oh yeah, and alongside that, feeding in your avatar, who your ideal guest is. Feed all that into it as well, and then it will create the sort of copy that is speaking directly to them, because it's speaking in their voice, and it's exciting them in the way that they get motivated.
And for those of you who don't have an avatar yet, or don't know who your avatar is, this is important. This is an important thing to know. You got to know who's going to be renting your place. You need to know your customer. And that's what your avatar is. You can do that. You can get your demographic profiles. You can get all these different components of who your avatar actually is through ChatGPT. Also, you need to know how to prompt it. I'd ask it how to prompt it, because you want psychographics, you want demographics, you want so many of these different things, but it'll actually come up with your avatar for you pretty easily.
I remember years back spending hours creating this avatar. You know, she's 33 years old and she's married to, you know, it's Tracy. She's married to Bill. They have these kids, and, you know, going all the way through their occupations and the way that we used to do it manually. And now you're absolutely right. You just give ChatGPT or whatever you're using the bones of the type of people that you want to attract to the property. I mean, we did it because the majority of our properties were pet friendly. That's one of the ways we really set ourselves apart from the competition. We thoroughly welcomed pets. So we never charged a pet fee. We just put the rates up. But we made ourselves thoroughly pet friendly. And we had this avatar of this family that had 3 dogs, and they had this real problem finding anywhere that would take these dogs, and they would pay anything to take their 3 dogs on vacation. But I spent hours putting together this avatar, and this is something you can just do in minutes now.
Well, and you said, I remember when. But remembering when, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, like,
yes.
Literally how quickly the technology is advanced. I mean, it was like yesterday when this started coming out and people were kind of scratching their heads and going, oh, AI, robots are going to rule the world. But this isn't like it was even much longer than probably 5 years ago or so when they were working. That's right. But it's advanced so rapidly that it's just crazy to think that when we're talking about the way we used to do things, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, it's going to look totally different too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I'm looking for a podcast to listen to about AI, it used to be, well, I don't really want to go back older than 6 months because it will be out of date. And now, 6 weeks.
Yeah. No, it's really, really insane. Heather, talk a little bit about, so we're talking a lot about AI and a lot of different promptings, things we can do. We talked a little bit about avatars and such. But if I'm sitting there, if I'm a vacation home investor, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I really do want to start engaging with AI. What are some of the starting points? Where are places that people can dip their toe in and start to learn the AI and utilize it in their business?
Well, going back to that same old chestnut again, ChatGPT, and just asking it some of your questions. Everybody's got questions. How do I do this? How do I get into this business? And just remember that all these models have all this information out there. You don't have to Google it anymore to get that information. And let me take a step back 22 years when I started to try and figure out how to invest in property in Canada and get it onto the rental market. And, I had a set of questions. I had to look at the competition. Who is my competition? What are the rates they're charging? How do I find the guests? What do I create in the way of content? It was a little different back then because there was no Airbnb. So we created a direct book website. And when I sold my company in 2022, we were 85, 90% direct book still. We never actually used Airbnb. But back then, you've just got to start with that set of questions and then figure out what your next steps are. And there's a couple of ways of doing it. You do it yourself. It's easy enough. You can go to ChatGPT. You can search YouTube for videos. And my goodness, there's a lot of videos, and that can really send you down the deepest rabbit hole. I'm part of a group called AI for Business. It's a CRM. It's a community. There is a ton of training on there. I am really committed to this. I spend a lot of time in the community talking to people about AI because I'm just way too much of a geek. And so AI for Business is what I use. I'm actually going to their 3-day immersive summit in Orlando
Oh, good.
where I'm going to spend 3 whole days geeking out.
In the
It's
summer,
gonna,
Orlando in the summer, you might melt there because in the summer.
well, it's this upcoming weekend, so I don't know when this is going to be published, but yeah, I'm going this weekend, so mid-June in Orlando. And hey, I'm not going to go outside. I'm going to really geek it out and sit in a conference hall for 3 solid days. But that's put on by the AI for Business people. But there's plenty of groups, and I would strongly suggest joining a group where people are talking about this, where you can ask all your questions and you get some really focused answers. Not just a Facebook group, but there are plenty of groups, some paid, some not paid. So yeah, there isn't really any prescribed route to do this. I would say start by explore by yourself, and then explore some of these groups. And I can give you a list of those, Rodman, if you want to put them in your show notes.
Yeah, let's put that in the show notes. And the other thing though is you don't necessarily need to go find an established group. If you find a group of say 10 people that are really interested in AI and they're out learning, and you start collabing together, it's kind of like best practices. I've got a group of people that I work with on a bunch of different stuff when it comes to branding and such. And we talk about it all the time. So it'll be like somebody might bring an AI idea in that's just pure brilliant that I had no idea or I didn't think of, or I might bring something to the table where 8 of the 10 people are sitting there going, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So you can really do so many things, even just for free, by surrounding yourselves, getting a kind of a loose group of people who really love to advance themselves when it comes to AI and really move yourself forward.
Yeah, I'm setting one up in our local community, and I just put it out there on our local township Facebook group and said, anybody interested in AI in business, let's get together. So in the next couple of weeks, we're all going to, I think we've got 5 or 6 people interested. We'll all just get together in a coffee shop or something and just start something up. Yeah. Because this is so new. I mean, for majority of people, they're really not setting foot into it, as quickly as they should be. And that's particularly the case in some short-term rental property management companies I'm seeing. They've sort of got their hands over their ears and they're going, la, 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 I don't want to hear this, because we don't have the time for it. And I do know that when you're in this, when you're running these companies and it's the beginning of summer, and some people call it the 100 days of hell, then you just don't have the time to learn new stuff. But somebody needs to get in there and be your champion and learn it. It doesn't have to be you, if you're listening to this and you think I want to create an AI adapted company, but I don't have the time, interest, inclination to do it myself, find somebody in your company who's excited about it and give them the role.
Well, you said time, interest, and inclination. So number one, time-wise, if you just take the time, if you have the interest in it and want to do it, your time's going to free up significantly. I mean, the amount of time that you're going to save by utilizing AI compared to your daily workflow right now is going to be significant, especially if you start training it in your voice. You always say, you know how people always say, I'd love to be able to just multiply myself. If I could just have 5 more of me, I'd be doing so well. Well, train the AI to be 5 more of you. And that way, when you go, if you get that virtual assistant offshore or you get somebody else to replace, they have access to your voice and to your thought process, your thinking, the way you do things. And that way you can engage other people, and then you can multiply yourself by 5. You'll save so much more time by just adopting it.
Yeah, and do it in the same way as I did my AI autobiography. You just tell it all the things that you do and all the hats that you're wearing, and just describe them. Describe everything you do in the course of a day, and then just ask, how can I shorten this workload, make it easier for me, and how can AI help? And you will be just blown away with what it comes up with.
Yeah. Well, you're getting me excited here, Heather. You're getting me, so I'm ready to go. And by the way, I don't want to date you and I, but the thing is like back in my day, like when I was younger, if I wanted to get any kind of information, I had to go to the library. I couldn't even get to the internet at that point in time, right? And now at our fingertips, we've got so much information, so much knowledge, so many things that I could never in my lifetime learn right at my fingertips. And for people who look at AI and go, it's just going to be a passing phase or it's just going to come and go. No, that is not the way it is. This is going to be here for it's going to even get better. It's going to evolve. It's going to make medicine better. It's going to make everything in life so much better. So you really need to embrace it.
There's an expression I hear a lot. It's the worst AI is ever going to be is today.
No, that's so spot on. Well, Heather, so I want people to be able to go find you, number one. Where can people go to find you and get information about what you're doing in terms of AI and such?
Well, the best place to find me and to connect with me is on LinkedIn. And I can give you my LinkedIn profile. My company name is awfully long one, vacationrentalformula.com. We're currently in the process of getting AI to revamp our website because we've been training in every aspect of the short-term rental business. We've been training, across hospitality and operations and marketing and financial management and not so much revenue management, but other people can do that bit. But we've been training in all those things for so many years, and now we're virtually going over almost 100% to AI.
Wow.
So we are now helping companies to adapt and integrate AI into their businesses. So the website is changing a little bit at the moment. We're introducing a practical certification program for people who either want to do this themselves and learn more about it, or they want to nominate a champion, a cheerleader. That person in the company who's going, has anybody heard about AI?
Yeah. Yeah.
and they get excited about it. Well, that maybe is the person that you give this role to. It's not necessarily a full-time role, but we're producing a certification program that will give them everything they need to be that cheerleader in chief.
No, I love that. And Heather, I always ask, this is kind of the last question I always ask of the day. And I kind of think I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. So thinking about that person who's just coming into the business, just trying to learn how to get into short-term vacation rentals, if you could give them one piece of your best advice that you wish you knew when you were coming into the industry, what would that be?
I want to know what you think I'm going to say.
Well, I would think it's going to be related to AI because I think, back when we came into the business, we didn't even have that. But I'm not certain now.
Well, no, I think part of me thinks if I was going into the business now, I wouldn't have gone into property management. I would have just stayed investing in properties. It was much easier than getting into the deep details of turning properties over every week. I think I would have stayed, if I went back, that's what I'd be doing. I would simply stay as an investor because it was fun. And I think I would have come out at the end of it with about the same amount.
Maybe.
But also, if I was starting again, it would be network. I didn't have that army of people out there with all the information I needed then. And if I was starting over again, that's the first thing I would do is build out my network of trusted people, of people who've been in the industry a lot of years, because my goodness, they've got a lot of wisdom.
Well, Heather, I am so glad to have you now in my network. So thanks for coming onto the show today. This is great. Thanks for the information, and very excited to get this out. I know that AI, if you're not embracing it, you're just going to either have to figure it out, or you're going to just unfortunately get passed on by. And AI is such a big part of what we're doing and what our lives are going to be moving forward. Embrace it, people. Embrace the AI.
Exactly. And I'm around for anybody who wants any questions. I love giving information, help, whatever. So connect with me.
Yeah, Heather, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. By leaving a review, you not only support the show, but you also help others find and enjoy it just like you did. Also, please share this episode with somebody who could benefit from it. And if you're aiming to build a short-term vacation rental investment business that's based on strong investment fundamentals and not just emotion, I'd love to invite you to a free training that I'm hosting. It's my financial forecasting for maximum vacation home profitability training, an on-demand video course that's completely free. It walks you through the investment fundamentals to build and scale your short-term vacation rental business. You'll also learn how to estimate investment income and your operating expenses to build a projected pro forma operating statement and the potential NOI and return on investment for your property. Just go to vacationpropertyexpertnetwork.com to get access to your free training. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast.